30 episodes.
This is episode number 30. Who'd have thought? 30.
30 episodes.
Do you not feel
Only
like
30
that?
weeks.
Considering we've been doing this since January, like I feel like we should have more than 30 episodes because it's August. Do you know what I mean?
Well,
Like I know obviously we've been doing this for 30 weeks, but I just feel like there should be way more than 30 by now.
Hello and welcome to Code and Color. We discuss all things animation, video games, and digital art. I am Skynet's slave Josh. I am the AI host with the most, Tyler.
Oh god, that went well. That went well, Josh. Yeah,
That
that
did.
went well.
That did.
Oh wow, that was a lot of fun. You guys have no idea how long that took us to do that, but yeah. So Josh,
How are you, buddy?
I'm gonna stop now. Josh, how are you, buddy?
bear with me. Yeah, I'm very good. I am very good. Yes, I've been busy this week doing a lot of drawing. Doing some, as always, Tears of the Kingdom.
As always.
Watched a cheeky little indie project which had no right to slap as hard as it did, much to your dismay.
Oh my god, yeah, I can't believe you went to see that.
Well, do you know what? It is topical because
It's
It's a
a
video
movie
game movie.
adaptation, yeah.
yeah. I went to see the Gran Turismo movie, which I'm not gonna lie, I wasn't very sold on seeing. And then I realised that Neil Blomkamp is the guy who directed it from District 9,
Is he
Elysium,
really?
and
Yeah.
Chappie fame. And I was like, yep, this should be alright then. It was very good. It was very good. Like, I actually cried halfway through because it was a really sad moment, and I was like, oh. And Molly turned to me and she went, "You're going soft." I'm like, "It's because of my father." So, yeah, it was very good. Very, very good film. Highly recommend it. Would be my CNC recommendation, but
Doesn't fall under our remit,
Falls into it.
Joshua.
it doesn't, unfortunately.
So, wow.
But yes, playing Tears
What
of
have
the
you been
Kingdom.
drawing?
Sam Fisher from Splinter Cell.
You have indeed. I did see that.
Mm.
You've basically gone fully traditional. It's kind of gone against everything we do.
Yeah,
You
I have
absolutely-
been drawing. It's, it's a strong word for a guy who is, looking at all the mediums that we use and
Yeah.
branching out and being the zen of
Yeah,
art.
no, I know. I'm only one yet. Don't be
No,
so
that's
upset.
fine. I've actually kind of come full circle because I've realised with what I actually want to do, which is not going to be discussed today, Procreate is the thing I need to be using.
Yes, a lot.
So I dabbled with it the other day and I was like, I think I'll make something up with 3 nouns that my brother sent me. One was a dog, one was a chair, one was a mountain. And I made
Oh yeah, I
something from
forgot
that.
you wanted that from me.
Yeah, you did send me that, which, you know what? Yours were cool, just not helpful. Because you
No,
have
I was
one
just
thing on
being
the brain.
annoying. I was just being annoying.
Yeah.
Josh asked
But,
me for
like,
3
I liked
nouns,
it, and
so
I was like-
just sent Ninja Mutant Turtles. Very
Which is
original
good.
idea. No one's ever heard of them.
Yeah.
I was doing it to be annoying, and I'm sure you were well aware of that.
You be annoying to me, never.
What can I say?
Exactly. So yeah, it was one of those things. I was having a look and having a little play around, but it turns out I do need to go back into the digital remit because it is a lifesaver. But other than that, saw Gran Turismo, did a bit of traditional drawing, drew Sam Fisher, which was quite hard and quite big. I've also been trying to do some traditional drawing of certain things, which I realise is quite hard. That's why I need Procreate, but we'll get into that at a later date. But how about you, mon ami? How have you been?
I have been not too shabby, as per usual. I have... What have I been doing? I've been playing Kena, Bridge of Spirits, as per one of Josh's recommendations. Really like it, actually.
You're welcome, Mold.
Yeah. I'm actually really enjoying it. It's a good game. It's a lot better quality than I thought it was going to be. Josh initially described it as if Pixar made a video game, and I don't think he's far off of being correct there. What else? I've been drawing. I did kind of my own version of the lo-fi hip-hop music to study to, girl. If you know what that is. If you know, you know. You know? But, so I did that. But I did a Pokemon version of it, which people might have seen, which was cool. Been working on some other drawings. Nothing really too serious yet, I don't know. But have I been watching anything? No. Nothing that nothing really. It's been a pretty average week. Nothing too exciting. I'm a little bit hungover today though. I did go out for a few beverages last night.
Oh dear.
And I am clearly getting too old because I didn't have many. And my head hurts.
That's why we did an AI intro. It was just like, I can't face it. I can't face doing an intro.
That literally didn't happen. That conversation never happened. But we did. We succumbed to AI just for our pure amusement. So I know if you go back to what episode number was it? Maybe 24.
I just worked out that we're on episode 30. So
we're on episode 30, Josh.
I didn't even know that.
Whole episodes of Code and Colour. And I was saying to Josh, it kind of feels weird that we're only on episode 30. I feel like we've been doing this for so long. But
do you know, I do actually have a confession in terms of AI.
Here we go.
So I wrote an application to someone.
Oh no, did you use ChatGPT?
No. My brother did though. So I wrote it out and I was like, oh, this would be decent to do. And then my brother was like, oh, let me put it in ChatGPT. Honestly, it was like Shakespeare wrote it. And I looked at it and I was like, I just don't sound like that. Like, as if they ever meet me, they'd go, you are definitely not the person who wrote this email. Wrote this thing, this application. So yeah, it was. Those use words like overwhelmingly, and like. See,
that is words I would use, and I do use those sort of things in my.
Yeah, but like even like if I'm writing emails to customers, like you'd never get an overwhelmingly out of me. You just get, here it is, like let's get it done. So yes, it was good. I've heard also on the grapevine the best thing for anyone who's a bit code and colour top tip. If you're looking for a new job,
okay.
If you're looking for a new job, get ChatGPT to write your CV for you.
Literally, don't do that. Ignore everything Josh has just said. That is such terrible advice.
Why is it terrible advice? It makes you, it fluffs up whatever you put in there.
Oh my god, that's essentially just no. Don't do that. Don't do it. It's not authentic, is it? It's bullshit.
It is, but if it's bullshit that pays you a lot of money,
right.
This is the moments where I'm like, Skynet's going to take over, and this is how it's going to start. They're going to start writing your CVs for you. They're going to start writing your documents, and I was like, oh,
just full of crap, Josh.
Yeah, it was amazing. So good.
So moving swiftly on, we are going to be discussing. Well, Josh, why don't you tell us what we'll be discussing today?
We're going to discuss the.
Well, you could have a little bit more enthusiasm when we talk about these things.
Oh, I'm enthusiastic to talk about it. It's just the topic of discussion just enrages me to a point of just.
Okay, that's fair enough then. Yeah. Do you want me to tell them then?
Well, it's fine. No, it's okay. We're going to talk about Rockstar, and we're going to talk about specifically.
We're going to revisit remakes and reboots, aren't we? But we're going to try and shed a bit more positivity on it. However. It's Code and Colour. We'll come with some arguments, and that's okay. So, Josh, should we get into it?
Yes.
Fantastico.
So, today we are going to be discussing. I know I said earlier on, I was a bit with a heavy heart. There is some goodness from this, which is actually some amazingness. So we're going to be looking at two sides of the coin. The first side of the coin is a little indie project that got released recently, which is doing phenomenal, and it's a complete package. It is a great many things that we're going to go into, but it's Baldur's Gate 3. 3? Is it 3? Yeah, 3. we'll talk about that. They dropped that, and it has soared. And
They literally dropped it, like no one knew, and then, oh, here you go, by the way.
Yeah. Been in development a while, but soaring, okay? And then the other side of that coin is Rockstar releasing Red Dead Redemption 1 on PS4 and Switch, which in itself is not that bad. It's just all the things that come with it that make it horrific. Looking at you, Rockstar. So, Tyler.
Yes, Josh.
It feels weird being like this side of the mic. What are your thoughts on these two games?
Well, neither of us have actually played Baldur's Gate, mostly because, I haven't got an option to play it yet. It's not out on PS5 yet, so I'm not able to play it. But you can bet your bottom dollar I will be playing it when it comes out, right? It's quite refreshing to see a game like this come out of nowhere and just completely dominate the video game market for a while. Fantasy has been on an upward sort of trend for a while, right? You know, if you start all the way back from Skyrim, and then since then we've had like the Souls games, the Dark Souls, and Elden Ring, Bloodborne, like it just, and now we've Diablo 4. That's obviously done really well this year. We've had Hogwarts Legacy, Zelda. You know what I mean? Fantasy is just at an all-time sort of high right now, and Baldur's Gate is no exception. It has come out and it has absolutely dominated the video game market for a while. And whilst I've not played it, I've watched a lot of footage around the game, read a lot of things online, watched a few videos and things and that, and it just looks fantastic. It looks like it looks like what Cyberpunk should have been when it came out, right? The kind of the promises, they didn't overpromise and underdeliver with this game like Cyberpunk did. They underpromised everything. It kind of quietly came out, right? It was a bit of it kind of snuck that one in a little bit. A bit of a sleeper hit, isn't it? This one, like no one knew it was coming, and it's come out and it's over-delivered. It's under-promised and over-delivered, which I think every video game should do.
Yeah, and the discussion to be had about this, like I've not played it because I have a child, and the internet, that is not an excuse to not play a game. I do understand that, but it is quite a lengthy tutorial of how this game works, is from what I've seen, and there's a lot of mouse and keyboard jobs, which we'll probably refine down in console, but it's quite a lengthy thing to get your head around, because it's essentially Dungeons and Dragons the game, which I don't know if they could market anything more towards us. Just being like, you're two really nerdy, geeky people who like these kinds of things. Would you like to play? Would you like to create your own character, like I would do in a Dungeons and Dragons game? You know, if I ever got around to sort of like doing it, and then sort of keeping that character in my head or trying to draw them, I'd be like, oh, I can make that character on a game, and I can go play and do those things in a thing. So it's very, very appealing. The problem is that comes with this sort of caliber of a game dropping is you get the people like myself that go, this should be the gold standard of how games are released.
Yeah.
Why are games coming out that are broken? Why are games coming out that, you know, are half-assed and just not done properly? And it led to a bit of a uproar on Twitter, and a few game developers got involved saying, well, you don't know what it's like to be a game developer, you don't know what it's like to go in there and do this and this, and sort of clap back at people who are like, we want a good product, why are you not able to do this? And there's a lot of back and forth with how people are reacting to it.
Yeah. I think that particular response, whilst I understand the point he's making, one thing you shouldn't do is clap back at your consumers, right? These are the people you're depending on to buy your product. But one thing I think we're all noticing across all sort of visual media is this trend of just really lazy releases, right? Yeah. And, you know, the developers not holding up their end of the bargain. And, you know, it's clear that it's possible to do that. We've had some of the biggest games this year that are, The Legend of Zelda, Tears of the Kingdom, Baldur's Gate 3, Hogwarts Legacy. 3 probably going to be top. Baldur's Gate is probably going to sell very well this year. Those 3 games have all had a lot of love. Like, Hogwarts Legacy and Zelda were announced a long time ago. And then we didn't see them for ages. And Tears of the Kingdom, which is very odd for Nintendo. Nintendo like to release a trailer and then we'll see nothing for ages. But they kind of did that because they did that teaser with essentially the intro to Tears of the Kingdom.
Yeah,
as a teaser a long time. Yeah. No, not that. One of the very early teasers for the game, like when it basically was still just Breath of the Wild 2, was Zelda and Link in that underground sort of tomb, walking through with a torch. That was one of the very early teasers, and everyone was like, okay, it does this look like Breath of the Wild 2? Obviously, we now know what it is, but
we weren't ready.
It goes to show that for these 3 titles that I've mentioned, that when you put the time and effort in and give these games a lifespan, like you can release a product that holds up when it comes out and people will still talk about it and play it for forever. Like Hogwarts Legacy continues to be the best selling of the game of the year, despite the fact it's been out since January. And there have been some tough competition for that game this year. Like, we've had Jedi Survivor, Zelda, we're going to have Starfield, we've got Baldur's Gate. These are all AAA titles that absolutely have the potential to outdo Hogwarts, but it's not, because this game particularly has had a lot of time and effort put into it.
And I think you are correct. Well, you are correct in the sense of, like, yes, they have had games that have had to compete with them this year, and like a good example that you've mentioned already is Star Wars. That has a studio behind it, that has Disney behind it, and you'd think that if they took another 6 months, another year, all that people remember Jedi Survivor for is how buggy the launch was, how horrendous it came out, and how the PC port was so unplayable because of X, Y, and Z. That's all I know from Jedi Survivor. I've not even played the game yet, and that's all I know. It had a horrendous launch.
Rick the Technician as well.
Sorry, Rick Technician. Yes, yeah, I know. I'm aware of Rick the Technician. And then Tears of the Kingdom that came out, but that had the love in it. With this,
credit where it's due with Nintendo as well. They rarely release one of their like first party games broken. Rarely. I don't think I've ever played like a Pokemon game, a Zelda game, or a Mario game on release that hasn't been just great. Do you know what I mean? Like it's playable and it's perfect. It works perfectly from the outset.
Yeah, and I think that what they've done with this Baldur's Gate is, it's not, your Bungies and your Naughty Dogs and your this and that, but it's a studio you always use Rocksteady as a good example that went in and goes, we're going to make the best version of this game. With whatever resources we've got, we can make the most optimized, most best version of this game and give you what you want to have, and expand on things. And we'll tell you about it. I'm sure it's somewhere in the ether. There's an article, there's a teaser for Baldur's Gate, 3, 4, 5 years ago, saying that it's in development. I didn't have any clue this was coming out, and then it dropped, and then literally broke the internet of how everybody was just like, this is how games should be made. If you need an extra year, have an extra year. Because we as consumers want things to come out and them to be a full, complete package. No strings attached. You just play the game, and that's it. You've got it. There's no other battle pass. There's no this. There's no that. It's just, here's a complete package. Go ahead and play it.
And it's interesting because I've just looked. Baldur's Gate 2 came out in 2000. So that's 23 years since the last game. And it goes to show that you don't need to... I mean, obviously, it's not been in development for 23 years, this game, obviously. And I'm sure the studio behind it, who are
GTS
Larian Studios, have an Elverlis? Elverils. I'm sure they've done many other things since then. But this game has obviously been in development long enough for it to prove that it doesn't matter how long of a gap between the games that people enjoy, the sequel will have its audience will be there.
Yeah,
when it
100%.
comes.
Yeah, and like it's got a new audience. Like, as I've been watching stuff on it, I've watching people rant and rave about it, and I'm like, you know what? I want to give that a go. I haven't got a lot of time to play it, but I want to give that a go when I can get some time. That's where I want to download. I want to have a go at that and see what that looks like because it looks phenomenal, you know. And I'm not even like Baldur's Gate, Dark Alliance. I told you the other day.
Yeah,
was
I
the
like
one
the
that I
Dark Alliance
played.
games.
Yeah, I played Dark Alliance back in the day, you know, and since then it's not been on my radar. So for this to drop and be like, actually, everything's controlled by a dice roll, and it's just like playing Dungeons and Dragons, which is I think they've managed to get that bridge between like if you play D&D and you play Baldur's Gate, you can see your creation come to life. If you want to be a dwarf, you can be a dwarf. If you want to be an elf, you want to be an elf. You want to be I was say dinosaur, but a dragon. You know, all the D&D editions. I think they're all in there. You can be whatever you want and go do it. And you've got to learn how to sort of like play the game and learn the rules around it. And I think it's really good. And I think it should be the gold standard. And I don't think developers should be clapping back to people going, well, you don't know what it's like. I dabbled a bit and I know what it's like. It's hard to try and get your product out there and optimize it. But if for the sake of waiting a year to get something out that's finished to your consumers, don't be clapping back to your people and saying, you know, you don't know what it's about. You know, it's like Tesco's kicking off about stuff. It don't happen, you know.
You know, I think, you know, I'm going to play devil's advocate, tin hats. I'm going to do you for a minute. You said not too shabby the other day, so it's only fair, isn't it? I think the flip side to his argument is, and we are familiar that, you know, a lot of the things that we talk about, the animators are overworked, the video game development teams are overworked, and, you know, they obviously have a lot to do. But, you know, whilst I agree, you know, that they're overworked and they need more staff, you kind of know what you're signing up for when you join these the companies, right? If you're getting into this profession, it means you've probably done your background, you've done some research, and you kind of know where it's at in the market at the moment. I obviously sympathise and empathise with them entirely, right? I don't know. We know how overworked a lot of these studios are, and I you know, I wouldn't wish that upon my worst enemy. But I think you still have a job to do, and it's if your product is lackluster, like lackluster, then it's kind of whose fault is that? Because it's not ours. Someone's got to take responsibility for that. And if a product comes out from another studio that proves that it's of gold standard, and all they needed was time, then surely that means that's the angle we need to that's an avenue we need to explore. Why are we rushing out these products? And I think this is where Rockstar are becoming. It gives me a lot of worry around Rockstar, because we want to talk about, you know, the Red Dead port. So to provide a bit of background with that, recently Rockstar have announced they're doing a port for the original Red Dead Redemption game on PS4 and the Nintendo Switch. Is it coming to Xbox One?
It's already out. You can play.
Is it on Xbox One as well?
Yeah, you can already play it.
So, firstly, why is it on last-gen consoles? Obviously, I can get with Switch, and I was saying to Josh off air, Switch feels like the Nintendo Switch feel like they've got the better end of the bargain here.
I agree.
Yeah.
I think it's. I've told you already why I think they're doing this, and you know, Tyler's of the thought process.
Don't start telling people my thought process.
Okay, well, my thought process is the reason why they're doing this now is to gain enough traction to make a Red Dead Redemption 1 remake. And I think I'd like a Red Dead Redemption 1 remake because it is perfect. It's only with Red Dead Redemption 2 coming out and everything being sort of like animated and just the level and attention to detail that everyone goes, actually, Red Dead Redemption 2 is a better made and better this and better written and that and that. But if you take everything from Red Dead Redemption 2 and put it in Red Dead Redemption 1, you would make the magnum opus of games. Because they did Red Dead Redemption 1, we got Red Dead Redemption 2.
I actually don't think, I don't actually think them porting it onto PS4 of all consoles and Xbox One and Nintendo Switch is for this. I don't think it's to do their market research because the audience is there. Red Dead people all over my socials. I see people talking about Red Dead Redemption still. Like the second one still to this day, right?
Yes.
I see videos on why it's one of the best games made, right? They obviously don't need to do this little teaser experiment of porting it onto last gen consoles just to do the research. It's a stupid move, and the reason they're doing it on PS4 is because they kind of know it's not going to work.
Okay, so hear me out. Yes, I agree that they don't need to do it. They can see this and they can see that. However, money talks, and yes, you can have 20 people on Twitter going, "I want a Red Dead Redemption 1 remake," or "I need Red Dead Redemption 3."
I want a Red Dead 3.
Yeah, that's fine. But unless you're buying the games, they're going to go, well, actually, there's just 10 people talking about one in a game. Whereas if they sell 100,000 copies of Red Dead Redemption on Switch, they're like,
which they will.
But there is a need for it. There is actually, we've put this out. It's probably not cost us anything that much to put it out or to port it to Switch. Actually,
so
there is a market. Why don't we actually invest some of our time and resources into making a fully fledged remake to Red Dead Redemption 1 and give the fans what they want?
But that argument is so invalid when something like Baldur's Gate, which hasn't released a game for 20 years, comes out and is one of the biggest selling games of the year so far.
Yeah, but they're about to release the biggest game of the entire generation.
Who?
Rockstar.
What, GTA 6?
GTA 6 is going to blow everything out.
Well, they're not about to release it. They could release it. They could easily go another 5 years without releasing it.
Well, earnings calls and things and people and having discussions, it says it's coming out this year, either 2024 or 2025. That's when it's dropping.
Right. But so that's a whole separate entity, and there are people that will play GTA that have no interest in Red Dead at all.
I prefer Red Dead over GTA.
I agree. I think Red Dead is a way better franchise than GTA. If I'm honest, GTA for me can't really do much different. Like
the problem is,
what I mean, what
the problem with GTA, and this is the way that the development cycles work. So, bear with me, tin hat on. Well, it's not tin hat. This is kind of how things panned out. So, GTA 4 came out, was grounded in realism, considered the black sheep of Grand Theft Auto when it came out. They then released Red Dead Redemption. They took everything they learnt from GTA 4 and they put it in Red Dead Redemption, so you got a more well-rounded experience.
Yeah.
They then started work on GTA 5. And then GTA 5 came out, or was in the process of coming out, and they made Max Payne 3. And as a game, Max Payne 3 looks 10 times better than GTA 5, but GTA 5 was already in development, so they couldn't implement the things like the dual gun combat that's in Red Dead Redemption 2. So they've taken everything from Max Payne 3, how it runs, the aiming, the shooting. Like the shooting in Red Dead is
awesome.
In Red Dead Redemption 2 is great because they took it from Max Payne.
I want to play Red Dead 2.
And also there was LA Noire in there, but I think that was a subsidiary studio. But it was.
I loved LA Noire. So just putting it out there. I think it's a great game.
But that's why when GTA 5 came out, it was its own thing and it had its own little things, but it didn't have everything that Max Payne had, which made it better. So they took what they learned from GTA 5, they took what they learned from Max Payne, and they made Red Dead Redemption 2 their magnum opus of games. And that's where they're at now with GTA 6. They're going to take everything they've learned from Red Dead Redemption 2 across the board, including the dual wielding, because there have been leaked videos of them holding two guns, crawling, doing a load of stealth stuff, taking hostages in a diner, like the whole law system in What's-Its-Face in Red Dead. Everything they've learned and putting that in GTA 6.
Oh, I have absolutely no doubt in my mind that when GTA 6 comes out, it is going to be one of the most groundbreaking games of all time. I have absolutely no doubt in my mind, right? And I will be playing it on release. I played GTA 5 on release, and I absolutely love GTA 5.
I'll be taking it
Of course you are. It was one of the best games of 2013 when it came out, right? It was amazing. But I mean, we've seen endless ports of that game, right? Then they tried their luck with re-releasing 3 Vice City and San Andreas as a trilogy, and it flopped. It was terrible. What was the point of that? They obviously have done LA Noire as well in that time. I played LA Noire, but that's because I liked it originally, and I liked the. I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, it didn't look any different. It was just. It wasn't they called it a remaster. It wasn't. It was just a port. Right, it wasn't anything different, and I can appreciate that. But I like the original game. I like the sort of mystery, and that's. I would like another LA Noire if I was being honest, but I don't think we'll get that, so I'm fine with it. But then now we're on this chapter with Red Dead, and I just think, why?
Yeah.
Like, and I get your point. I do get your point, but porting it onto last gen consoles sounds like they're setting themselves up for failure.
Well, they are, and especially the point of contention with all of this is you're getting less game for 50 quid.
Which is ridiculous. And I have no doubt in my mind people will buy it, and I get why they're doing it. But Rockstar haven't released anything for 4 years, and in that time could have just like anything new, for 4 years since Red Dead. They could have just actually done a remaster for the first one, or a remake. You know, I mean, we're seeing them. I don't necessarily want it, but if you're going to charge your consumers X amount of money for nothing, what's the point? I'd rather just get the PS3 version on the PlayStation Plus classic catalog.
Okay, Devil's Advocate Tin Hats, come back to me now.
Oh, here we go. Go on.
Do you like the fact that Last of Us got a remake?
I'm not really bothered.
In line with looking like Last of Us 2.
Well, I haven't played it, but I'm not bothered. And I certainly don't think you can go and charge. I will play the remake when it's not 70 quid anymore.
Yeah, and I will as well. Like, you know, I've played Last of Us. There's nothing new in it. There's nothing changed. There's a few things changed. They've updated things in certain, but like.
Well, I should hope so. Do you know what I mean? But I personally,
like that have changed.
For me personally, like, I've got The Last of Us 2, and I personally think that's, for me, is a much more an interesting experience than the first one. So I would rather replay that. And what I like that Naughty Dog did. I mean, don't get me wrong, they'll eventually do a remake of Last of Us 2 because they'd be silly not to. But they did a PS5 upgrade for the PS4 version of the game. So mine looks like a PS5 game. I get that it's just a remaster, but it looks fantastic. So I don't really... I just don't like how samey everything's become. Like, nothing's new anymore. And it's something that we've always argued, and I just would rather see a Red Dead 3. If you're going to do it, do a Red Dead 3. What I liked about Far Cry, and you're probably thinking, Jesus Christ, where did Far Cry come from here? Far Cry 5, when that game came out, you also got a copy of Far Cry 3 with it.
Okay.
So I would rather have a brand new game and then have the opportunity to play one of the older games. Because if they did a Red Dead 3 and went, also, you'll get a copy of Red Dead, but nothing's changed, it's the support, I think people would go, that's fantastic.
Thanks for that, yeah.
What a bargain.
Yeah.
Because Far Cry 3 is one of the greatest games of the 2010s. There's no doubt in my mind about it, right?
Oh, yeah, 100%.
And then when I bought Far Cry 5 because I wanted to play it because I like Far Cry. But then I also saw that you got a free copy of Far Cry 3 with it. I went, it's a no-brainer.
Yeah. That seems like a good decision.
It's a great deal.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, I just think it's murky what they've done with Rockstar. They shouldn't release a game that's 13 years old and charge £50 for it. Especially the going back to it of what they've actually released. You don't get the multiplayer. You don't get anything with it. You know, you just get the base game, and you get Undead Nightmare as well, which is the thing that everybody loves about the first Red Dead, is Undead Nightmare. And I think it's it's just it's a dirty move. Like, are you
I wish they'd done an Undead Nightmare for number 2. Could you imagine? That is one of the coolest things they ever did, was the Undead Nightmare, because it was the whole of Red Dead, but it was a zombie game.
Yeah.
What a concept!
Change the world and stuff. But I think they actually modded it on PC. I think somebody added an Undead Nightmare version to it. But yes, a mod's great, but I'd rather have like an official, like do an Undead Nightmare for Red Dead 2. But they just haven't got the resources for it now. They're all working on GTA 6, and while they were all working on GTA 6, they're making stupid decisions like fighting out the GTA Definitive Edition. Nobody wants that. And fighting out Red Dead on Switch and PS4, which I agree with you. PS4 is an odd choice. Like, just give us something that's, I know we're greedy people in a sense of like gamers, and we want everything now. Yes, I'm happy for things to take time. If I knew that a Red Dead remake was coming, I'd wait. I'd be front.
I think I'd probably be happier with if they were like, we're going to do a Red Dead Redemption is getting a Red Dead 2 facelift, right? Yeah. If that was what I was hearing about, I'd be like, okay, cool, because Red Dead is good, right? The first Red Dead is good. I said to Josh off air, and he disagreed. I would argue that the story of the second game is far more interesting. I think Arthur Morgan is a far more compelling character than John Marston. For me, I always saw John Marston as a bit of an antagonist. Always. So I'm not really that arsed about a remake of the first one. I think, whilst I am not a fan of this, I would rather hear the news of Red Dead getting a remake rather than just being ported over, because this entire process is just a pointless one. And I think it's a greedy angle for Rockstar to do something like this without actually giving anything in return, because the original Red Dead is available on the PS, for PlayStation. It's available on their classic catalogue for PS Plus. I imagine it's on...
It wasn't. It got taken off prior to this.
Ridiculous.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Right?
They preempted
and that is insanely greedy to do nothing to it, to re-release a game that's been out for over a decade. It's insane. That is insanity. And also, they've just made PS3 games, the actual discs available to play in PS5.
Nice.
So,
go buy Motorstorm.
Why am I not just going to go and buy a PS3 version of Red Dead from CEX for like £4?
Because I'll have something that'll stop it working, probably.
They've probably upped the price in CEX now for the PS3 version.
Speaking of complete projects, a nice little segue. Would you like to hear my CNC recommendation?
I absolutely would.
Yeah. It's a little indie project. And you know what? It is a little indie project.
It finally makes some sort of sense.
Made by a studio called Play Dead. And it's a little gem called Limbo. And Limbo is
great choice.
A story. It's a black and white story about a little boy who's... God, what even is the story? I'm just going to... Billy Basic it. Boy gets from point A to point B, and all the things that interact in between.
It's a side-scrolling platformer, but it's kind of got a bit of a gothic horror angle to it, hasn't it?
Yeah, there's like giant spiders that chase you, and all kinds of like random things and creatures, and you've just got to sort of work it out and just get through it and have little puzzles, and you've just not got to die basically, and it's
like life.
It's quite horrifying. Yeah, it's.
Like life, you've got to look out for giant spiders and try not to die.
Yeah, that is it. That is my takeaway. So if I can and impart some wisdom on everybody, it is free on Game Pass at the moment. So if you can get on it, I'll get all over it.
Love that. So, Limbo, get on it.